Conservatives often pride themselves to be the champions of values, ethics, marriage, morality, and personal responsibility. In fact, these things are usually prescribed as the antidotes to the moral decay in society. And they are right, these are indeed good things. But like many things in life, people don't always practice what they preach, and nothing explains this better than the radio silence maintained by right wing conservatives about the Andrew Tate phenomenon until now. For about 2 years now, the internet has been inundated with clips of Andrew Tate and the very problematic things he says.
I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all.
I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense.
Following his arrest on charges of human trafficking and prostitution, it was literally impossible to ignore what was going on with Andrew Tate. But that's precisely what happened in right-wing conservative spaces. Their responses to Andrew Tate ranged from lukewarm defense to radio silence.
Tate had predicted for a long time this would happen to him. He had predicted that people were going to come after him, that they were going to arrest him. Does that mean that he's not guilty of something? I have no idea. I have no idea whether he's guilty of these crimes. It could be trumped up. It could be the Romanian authorities who are embarrassed by Tate. It could be anything. I don't place a lot of stake in the law-abiding nature of the Romanian authorities. I literally know nothing about how the law... Andrew Tate literally said he moved to Romania in order to avoid law enforcement. So I don't know whether that's true or whether that's not. I assume all of that will come out in the wash. The thing I want to focus on is the popularity of Andrew Tate for a moment. And it's fascinating because, again, I have a lot of young listeners who are interested in the stuff that Andrew Tate says. The reason they're interested in the stuff that Andrew Tate says is because he's transgressive. He's transgressive in that he says things that no one else will say. Some of the stuff that he says is frankly terrible, and some of the stuff that he says is not terrible. Some of the stuff that he says is actually a version of truth.
Now, this is not surprising considering the fact that the audience of Andrew Tate largely overlaps with that of many right-wing conservative commentators. So it makes sense that they would not want to upset their fan base, which says a lot about their values to begin with. While these conservatives made so much noise about Disney changing the race of a fictional character.
So they've now decided that apparently every redhead in the Disney universe will be recast as a racially diverse person. And this is how, for example, The Little Mermaid ended up as a person of color.
They remain silent as a very sinister character poisoned the minds of young men with ideologies that is tacitly detrimental to family and society, something conservatives seem to care a lot about. For reference, Andrew Tate runs online courses, one of which is called the PhD program, short for Pimping Hoes Degree, where it teaches young men how to prostitute women on the internet.
So yeah, on corporatate.com I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is Pimping Hoes Degree that I'm
clever.
And
Clever.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me.
One would think that preserving the chastity of women has more real-world consequences and would take precedence for conservatives than whether the Little Mermaid is a person of color. But no, they're only interested in fighting wokeness, whatever that means. But something seems to have changed these past few days. Many conservatives seem to be finally speaking up about the problems with Andrew Tate. This mostly followed his interview with Tucker Carlson, where, like he always does, he lied through his teeth.
What are you charged with?
That's a really good question. I'm charged with being the head of an organized criminal group, which is in charge of recruiting girls to make TikTok videos.
Are they accusing you of using violence or?
No. They're accusing me of using the lover boy method, coercing them by being nice.
He probably thought that he could use Tucker's platform to solidify his sympathy from right-wing audiences, but this has backfired spectacularly. This only led to more people looking critically at what he's been accused of and what he said in the past. After the interview, someone made a 6-minute clip showing Tate's own words admitting to the things he's been accused of and the string of lies he told to Tucker Carlson. After that clip went viral on Twitter, it was as though the scale was finally pulled back from their eyes and many conservative voices started speaking up. Allie, Beth, who runs a Christian conservative podcast, had this to say. Andrew Tate is evidence that the right can be easily deceived by empty platitudes and virtue signaling as the left. All the true things that Andrew says about social issues, responsibility, etc. are just virtue signals to cover for his degeneracy. In his own words, he's a pimp who sexually and emotionally manipulates women. I couldn't have said it any better than Ali, but I'll go further to say this, that many conservative commentators themselves suffer from a similar malady as Andrew Tate, i.e. they say certain true things about social issues and advocate for personal responsibility as a cover for their toxic ideas. Peterson is one such person. He uses his self-help shtick, which is helpful for the most part as a cover for his Western chauvinism. Mouthwash uses his critique of leftist delusion about sex and gender as a cover for his intolerant and militant religious views. Brandon Tatum uses his critique of black culture as a cover to basically be a shield for the police who can do no wrong in his eyes. This guy, he runs a Christian YouTube channel called What Do You Mean? Here, he describes why he fell for Andrew Tate.
Like a lot of you watching, I was initially turned off to Andrew Tate when I first discovered him. But as time went on, I found myself agreeing with a lot of the things that he said and started actually growing to like him. And so I started to wonder if he could actually be innocent and was wrongly accused of the crimes that he was charged with. And probably like a lot of you, I wanted to believe that he was innocent. But as I looked into his case and I compared it with what he said in his recent interview, I found it nearly impossible to conclude that Tate's 100% innocent, and even more impossible to deny that he flat out is lying to everyone.
Well, to be fair, the first time I listened to Andrew Tate, I agreed with most of what he said. I didn't think much of him. I just thought of him as a bit hyperbolic and playing a character. However, it took me just a few more videos of him for me to say, wait a minute, this guy is a degenerate, and I've been calling him out ever since. I see a big problem when Christians like this take so much time to discern what a man like Andrew Tate truly represents. So, I know I may never get so big on YouTube because I'm not an ideologue who shills for either the right or the left. I criticize nonsense wherever it resides, and people really don't like that kind of nonsense. But if you made it this far in the video, you may be the exception. If so, kindly like, share this video, subscribe to the channel, or support the channel or Patreon, or become a channel member. And don't forget to get my crime fiction novel, which features an interesting debate on race and colonialism. The link is in the description and pinned comment of this video. Gracias. Back to the video. Finally, Jordan Peterson had this to say about Tate in a tweet. It's a good thing that these conservatives have started calling out Tim on his pimpy behavior. Better late than never. So that's it for this video. Final advice: stay away from pimps, left-wing nuts, right-wing ideologues, and Jordan Peterson.